Okay, D Money Show has a very special guest, a guy I go way back with, one of my favorite people in the industry, Cyrus from Fast Data. Cyrus, thank you for coming to the D Money
Thank you
Show.
for having me. Always a pleasure just seeing you.
Always a treat when players meet. I love that you even get dressed up just for a shitty little podcast like mine.
This is normally how I wake up.
I bet those are pajamas, right?
Yeah, pretty much at this point.
Nice. All right, so let's dig in a little bit. I know we're all in the performance marketing space, but what you've developed in the last, I'd say, 2 years is outstanding for people that are in fintech, even people in pay-per-call that are doing debt, and maybe some other verticals like solar and other things. I'm going to give a quick little recap of how I interpret what you do, and correct me if I'm wrong, and then I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure.
So fast data is basically being able to gauge a person based on their financial situation, if you will. If they're in debt, you would know how much in debt they are, and that could be very helpful in a lot of ways. And if they have really great credit, that could be helpful in even more ways too. So with that being said, let's turn it over to you. Why don't you give us your version of exactly what it is? Because I'm not doing you any justice with that.
No, you definitely covered basically the basics. So Fast Data is a marketing technology company. We are in the affiliate space and the general finance space. We focus primarily on consumer finance. What that means is we do have the ability to basically do a pre-qualification check by looking at the consumer's credit data. So anything that basically would show up on somebody's credit history, number of credit cards, how much they've paid off, the total debt, mortgage, student loans, just about every financial aspect of either good or bad that's transpired. You know, when you were a kid probably growing up, you heard like, oh, this is going to go on your permanent record. Well, as an adult, it does go on your permanent record. It's called your credit report, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's facilitated by 3 major credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And to some degree, we have a relationship with all 3. And we're what's called a licensed CRA reseller. So a CRA is a consumer reporting agency. So we act on behalf of, Equifax, for example, whereby we have the ability to not only pull the credit data, but we can actually sell it to a financial institution or their marketing partner so that they can actually vet the consumer so that they can match. Think of it as like a matchmaking service. That's really what it comes down to. Is the consumer eligible for that financial product that they're applying for? And if so, who's the best available partner in that network that can actually service it? And rather than getting the runaround or maybe for them to get declined and tossed around in 5 different ways, this gives everybody an answer right out the gate. You can get a yes or a no within milliseconds.
So it's in real time. So,
it's in real time.
Okay, so walk me through it. Somebody signs up with you guys through Fast Data.
Yep.
And once they sign up and they get approved and they're ready to roll, what's the next thing that happens? What do they need to do next?
So our system is seamlessly integrated into a lot of different lead management systems out there, different CRMs, different platforms, but it can also be used as a standalone product. So you could hit our system through an API call, or you can use our user interface dashboard. It really just depends on how your business is set up. So we don't have a confined way of accessing the credit data. Rather, we look at your business needs and how you're operating. Do you need a system to filter your consumer, or do you need to visually look at it yourself? Or you mentioned pay-per-call earlier. Do you need the call to be routed to a specific agent because of a certain debt amount or the lack of, or let's say the credit score, things of that nature?
So like if you are looking for people 10 grand and under, you're going to route it to person A.
Correct.
And then person B is going to get the 20 grand in debt or the 10 grand and higher up to 20. So they're going to get paid more. So basically before this happened, before you created this, people only got paid one rate. But now what people don't know is they can get paid a lot more money based on somebody being a broke ass person,
right,
who's very deep in debt.
So believe it or not, we actually went about it the other way around. So yes, as much as our partners and our clients are very important to us, we're a consumer-driven first company. It's in our personal mission with my co-founders, Jeremy and Kyle. It's part of our company mission as a whole. We want to make sure that the consumer is being taken care of the best way possible. This would be the same way if it was your parents, your loved ones, your cousin, whoever. If they're scrambling and looking for a solution or some kind of a financial product that they need, whether it's a credit card, mortgage, a loan, or maybe even a debt relief product, whatever it may be, wouldn't you want them knowing that they're actually working with a real company that's utilizing the best available options to them, rather than getting maybe partnered up with a predatory company that's really not in their best interest and is only looking to maximize dollars? So that's the approach that we took, because year after year, we saw how much consumer abuse there is in the financial space. So we wanted an answer for that. And what this does is a two-prong attack. Really, what it enables the partners that we work with is to make sure, one, they're a real human being. So think of all the kind of the buzzwords in the industry as far as like coach calls, synthetic IDs or synthetic leads or things of that nature, where they look real and you call it and it just rings endlessly to nowhere. That's a real problem in the industry. So we're able to fix that, but most importantly, we're able to then get the consumer to be matched up with the right individual company that can actually service them. So I think revenue is a byproduct, right? Where it's like, yes, you make more money as a marketing partner, where you're able to now drive, higher dollars, whether it's cost per lead, or whether if it's a performance partner, because really what you're doing is you're making sure it's a real human being with real needs. Whereas before, yes, correct. You kind of were taking a gamble where you're like, well, the consumer said they have $20,000 in debt. So you just kind of trust that and you pass along the information. Self-reported information is only like 20% accurate or something like that, based on all the reports that we've gathered across the country with all the different partners.
So what's interesting is you call it a soft pull,
Mhm.
as opposed to a hard pull. What's the difference?
So the difference is, traditionally a soft pull will not affect your credit score, meaning the inquiry is simply made for pre-qualification purposes. So there's this tricky little thing called permissible use, where you can't just get access to credit data just because you want it. You have to show permissible use, and it has to be used for a financial service or a financial product that the person is actually consenting to. So the soft pull, really what it does, like our company name or one of our partners who actually gets licensed with us, their company name will show up on the credit report as an inquiry, but that's as far as it goes. Whereas as a hard inquiry, you can lose 5, 10, 12 points off your credit score because a hard inquiry was made, where it does affect your credit score.
So really the only difference to the person who's doing this would be they don't care who the money is owed to necessarily. That would be a hard pull, right? And then the soft pull just gives you roundabout kind of measures for that.
I would rephrase it in a way of, think of the purpose. So really, like, basic analogy I like to use is think of like salt. Everybody has salt in their kitchen. Imagine if I was running like a really like a tight ship, where I was like, this specific salt that's in the kitchen, that's by the stove, is only meant for the stuff that's being cooked with. You're not allowed to like take it out of the kitchen. It never leaves this side of the stove top. Let's call that a hard inquiry. Like, there's very specific containers around the requirements of it. Whereas like with the soft pull, imagine it's tabletop salt. It's the same salt. Like, if you open up the container and put them side by side, they're literally the same, right? But it's sitting on your dining table. You can sprinkle it on whatever you want. You can throw a little bit on the palm of your hand and toss it over, your back.
Do a little salt bay.
Yeah, a little salt bay action. So it comes down to, what is the intended purpose. So that's what really makes the difference. Hard inquiries typically will be, and again, I'm really simplifying it because we could talk for hours about like all the little nuances that go into it. But a hard inquiry versus a soft pull, one is you're just saying, hey, Darren, you're eligible for applying for this particular credit card. Like, we know for sure that you can be eligible for applying, and we will give you a hard offer. If you choose to accept, then a hard inquiry might be made, because then they just want to verify all the information that was there is correct by going through a second set of data.
So basically, you don't have to waste your time trying to figure out if they're going to get approved. You already
Correct.
know they're going to get approved.
It's the same information on the credit file. So, for example, if you owe $5,000 today to Chase, it's the same. It's going to show up on the pre-qualification soft pull check as well as the hard inquiry. It's just the way it's intended of where it's going to be used is what makes a difference.
Yeah, because I think debt is probably one of the biggest verticals in the lead gen and pay per call space. So what a lot of people don't know is that this even exists, and that's my job today, is to let people know it does exist, and you can contact Cyrus. He's with Fast Data. So And the best part is I don't know if you're doing setup fees or not, but if you don't have a setup fee, then how does this work? I know they pay per transaction of under a dollar.
So they pay we have like 5 different products currently on the marketplace today. Again, it depends on who you are, what you want to do with it. Again, think of like our base core product as a pre-qualification softball eligibility check. I look at, let's say, Darren's credit report. What's your credit score? How much debt do you have? The lack of debt or things of that nature. Do you have a mortgage? If so, what's the outstanding balance? On our summary product, there's over 101 different calculated fields where we summarize all the different things that you have. So the cost of it is there aren't really too many products, first of all, that compete with what we have. There are some similar ones, but even with that, knowing that we have a better accurate product, our prices are quite competitive. Setup costs and things of that nature, they're negligible. Like when I say that, compared to what you're getting, and people only pay per billable API call. For example, if you pass through a synthetic ID through, we'll tell you it's fake, but you don't pay for that. So only if we actually find a credit report or a file of a real human being and we pass it to you, then that's when it's billable.
Amazing. So what trade shows would we find you guys at? Because I know that I've seen you at Affiliate Summit.
Yep.
I've seen you at Lead Generation World. I believe I've seen you at Contact.io. Not sure about that one, but I'm pretty sure.
We like to support a lot of the major trade shows because in turn they've supported us over the years, over a lot of different ventures and different companies that we've been involved with. So we're at all the major ones that you've mentioned, even some smaller shows too. Like we like to, honestly, you as a friend, but I like to support obviously anything related to affiliate ball, the AFI Expo and things of that nature. Even sometimes actually if it's a smaller show, for us it's more intimate and the conversations are more real. And people aren't just like conference excited, because like in those scenarios, 99% of the time they're just like, yes, let's do something together. But then you get back home and there's no opportunity to be had. So we look, much like our product, we look for quality versus quantity.
Are you still getting recognized when you go to the trade shows and people recognize you as Darren's camera guy?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if it's the Darren's camera guy or the famous blonde hair that I usually sport, which obviously is due since it's been a few months. But I think it was just a few months ago, somebody that we both personally know reached out and was like, "Hey, what do you charge for videography and things of that nature?"
Really?
So that was kind of funny.
So to set the record straight, you're not an actual camera guy. You have great cameras and great skills at it, but you were just hooking me up as a friend to get me the footage that I needed.
Yeah, I mean, the 30-second version of that is, when we started talking a few years back in San Diego, I remember one of the ways we connected was it was stuff that I needed help with, and then it was things that like you needed help with, and we found a lot of synergies there. And so through my creative marketing agency that has nothing to do with Fast Data, we had partnered up with a major production studio out in Los Angeles, 30,000 square feet space, millions of dollars worth of cameras. I think the first time it was, I think I brought somebody with me that helped out with the camera stuff, and then I think you called me while I was on the way to Vegas, and you were like, "Hey, I'm one guy down. Like, what do we do with this shoot?" And I was like, "I'll just grab a camera out of the studio and come help you out." And then the famous thing got together where people were like, "Wait, they're like you're in credit data finance and you're doing videography?" And I'm like, "Not quite, but
Real
when you have a
Renaissance
friend in
man.
need, yeah, you sometimes you step up."
Well, I
So
appreciate it. I got some of the best footage I've ever had. So if you're anywhere as good as at your business model, which is
yeah,
Fast Data, that'd be great. And now you had another name that you guys used to go by. So for people that know your old brand, it
yep,
was Fast Debt.
correct. We originally started out in Fast Debt at the end of 2022. Reason being is we were mostly just in lending and debt. So debt consolidation loans, debt relief products, and things of that nature. And the joke was it was fast because we moved fast, and we did everything quickly. And the name was something that we had to acquire through another company, but we made it work and we just stuck with it. But like you said, the one thing that it did for us, unfortunately, it did pigeonhole us into a lot of people thinking that we were only just working in debt because it was in our name. They didn't realize that all we were doing was assessing the debt amounts on the credit data, and we actually had nothing to do with debt companies. There was a few debt consolidation, debt relief companies out there that I was very friendly with, and after us launching that, they just stopped talking to me, and I was like, "What's going on with these guys?" And then through one of their other friends, they were like, "Oh, he thinks you're competing with him," and I was like, "It couldn't be further from the truth." So, having the merger when we acquired the company Fast Data out of Florida. It was a blessing in disguise because it helped with a lot of different things. It showed that we're a data company, we're in fintech and in the marketing space, but it removed that stigma also that like people weren't confusing us for a debt company or a debt associated company for that matter.
It's great. So what a
Yeah.
great story. So what made you even decide to even get into this?
I didn't decide at all actually. It was one afternoon. I was walking my dog, and I got 3 phone calls within 1 hour, and every single one of them were like, "Hey, do you still have relationships over at the credit bureaus?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What do you need?" They're like, "Can you come and set up the exact same thing you've done over the years of pre-qualifying leads? We want to set it up for our company." And to every single one of them, I said yes. I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I can come in as a consultant, help you set it up, and go from there." And then I quickly realized most of these guys, they're not even going to be eligible for the credit data because they don't know how to get set up with the compliance part of it. And that same afternoon, it just so happens that I was going to grab lunch with Kyle, who's one of my co-founders, and we were sitting down, and he looks over to me, and I just told him, I said, "Oh, you wouldn't believe it. I'm like, people have asked me to go and consult it, whatever." He leaned in, and he was the one who was like, "We can build it," and he just said it with um, so much confidence and so much conviction that like I believed it right away. And I was like, at first I was like, really? I'm like, okay. I'm like, let's give it a shot. And Jeremy was a mutual friend of ours. And think of Jeremy and Kyle. The way I look at it is they're like one coin, but each side kind of completes the other. You can't have one without the other. They're really kind of the genius and the architects and the minds behind fast data. Whereas like for me, most of it is like business use case and ideas that I come up with, and then they bring it to life. So us three, when we started the company, all we did was take our relationships, we created a service behind it, and then kind of like being the Prometheus of the credit data world, we brought that fire into the affiliate space and bringing it into our marketing partners and the financial institutions that we had a relationship with.
So let's end the show here where let's let our audience my audience, my audience is performance marketers. Who's going to use this? Like let's break it down. We have debt, we've already established they're going to use it. You have solar can use it. Any high ticket item can use it. Who else can use it?
Just about any vertical that requires a pre-qualification financial check,
Such as
lending. Lending can be personal loans, business loans. If they need to do a certification of any type, um, debt relief products from debt consolidation loans. Somebody who owes too much credit cards and they need to pay that off. To other debt relief products that we work with. Credit cards. You're applying for a credit card, or if you're working with any major banks, things of that nature. Mortgage, any mortgage products. Home services in general, not necessarily just solar. So again, if you're going to get a $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, or $250,000 job, a remodeling job on your home, and you're going to require third-party financing, imagine if you're the marketing partner and you're the sales company that's going out, and you know for a fact that the consumer is already pre-qualified for that job in terms of being able to finance it. So that 1 hour, 2 hour sit is all you're doing is working on like, hey, what's the best products that we can offer you, and get the job done. Because I've been in that world years ago where 10 years ago, sales guys would go out to a sit for a verified appointment, and 2 hours later they would do a pitch, and then they would do the credit check through the lending company, only to find out they got rejected by the financing company. So it's an extremely powerful tool that saves a lot of time and money up front.
Wow. So it's brilliant. I love it. I'm on board. I'm actually a reseller. So I know it works.
You're
sent referrals.
officially literally one of only ones that we trust that can actually articulate and bring partners to us that we trust.
Well, I'm trying to articulate it today. I hope I'm doing okay
Yeah.
at it. All right. So before we end, I want to know Affiliate Ball, AFI Awards, the umbrella of D-Money. Tell me, what was your favorite moment at any of our events? Like which artist, comedian, which show, what would be your number one?
My favorite moment, so I have two if I can kind of hit both, and I'll hit them quick. So the first time was we met before years ago, obviously, and we had a lot of mutual friends. But the first time I officially came over and I was like, hey, this is who I am and this is what I do, and we can work together. I don't know if you remember, it was in San Diego, outside of this 2-story bar. And I think the only thing I said that kind of like really connected us was, I'm like, what is it that you wish you had today that you're not already doing. And it was like a light bulb moment for you as well as for me, because I was like, this kind of lets me be a little bit more ingrained into the community. And then because at the time I was working with another company, I was like, when I'm just kind of taking off on my own, you want to be able to have friends that you can trust and people that can kind of like push you forward. So that was a key moment. I think if I hadn't hopped off the curb and like talked to you by the side of the street when you were waiting for your car, like none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
And then the second one is probably just really working with your team and them kind of bringing in me as one of the family, especially with like doing the video stuff, social media work and things like that. Being on stage with like, you know, every single act you've had from being in backstage with Fat Joe.
Money for bringing me out here. I heard y'all hustlers in this room. That's what I've been doing my whole life, hustling. Don't give up the hustle. 24 hours in a day, work 27. That's what I do. Come on, Sunshine, let's go.
Method Man.
We got Method Man backstage. He's an Affy Award winner. He's got the green jacket or the black hoodie. We keep it real Wu-Tang style.
It's like the green jacket they get when they do golf, when they win the Masters. So, boom, this is my metaphoric green jacket right here for being a winner.
That's right.
Honor. Thank you very much,
Yes,
bro.
sir.
Salute. What's up? This is Method Man. Shout out to the affiliate ball. I am an Affy winner myself. So welcome to the winner's circle, people.
Red Man.
Affiliates, make some noise in this joint, man. I'll take that. Hey, check this out. Shout out to my nigga B-Money in the building for doing this joint. This is the affiliate affair. Shout out to B-Money right here. What up, D? He always bring a real hip-hop through. He brought my man Meth through. He brought me through. So hopefully next year he'll bring me and Meth through.
Every single one of those guys, and just really being like your right-hand guy to work with you on a lot of those things. Also brought back like old school, you know, being in the entertainment industry and working with a lot of those events.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
I actually have a lot of fun doing them.
It's a lot of fun for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
And are you gonna be in New York? Are we gonna do
We
Too
will
Short?
100% be in New York.
You know, I got
So,
Too Short, right? So I hope
I do. I've been seeing the promotions, so
All right,
I'm
good.
looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. I'd like to send a big shout out to EDM Network as our main sponsor. I'd also like to thank Contact.io for being a co-sponsor as well. So make sure if you're in pay-per-call, lead gen, or if you have a call center, Contact.io is incredible. And hey, listen, buying and selling leads, form fills, calls, EDM Network. For sure, EDMLeadNetwork.com. And by the way, you could also get a white label of that. I'm proof of this. You can go to marketingfirm.com and actually sign up through me. I'll make money with you. Maybe you'll get some perks on the affiliate ball if we're making money together. You see what I'm saying? So make sure you check that out as well. Marketingfirm.com. That's your boy over here. But I do work with EDM Network. I don't know if you know Rita and Jamal. Great guys. They'll take great care of you over there. And thank you again for sponsoring the D-Money Show. And thank you, Cyrus, for coming into the studio today.
Thank you for having me.